a little bit of a kick, the creaminess of the livers. I am in heaven. Mark's about to be in heaven. Enjoy. There's one thing I'm very partial to. It's chicken livers. Now, they're not the healthiest things in the world, but they are very cheap and cheerful, and they are very delicious. And a peri-peri chicken liver can feed a multitude of people and make them happy. So, you can go wrong, it must be said, because it is very, very easy to overcook a chicken liver. And it, and then they become dry and crumbly, and actually, I don't know, it's not really worth it. So, I think it's kind of important that you take this in 2 steps. First, we're going to sear the chicken livers, then we're going to get rid of them. Then we're going to make a peri-peri sauce. Then put the chicken livers in the peri-peri sauce. And that way, you're sort of almost certain of getting a really lovely, sort of moist liver. No, that's not hot enough. Come on, hurry up. So, obviously Portuguese in origin. What we've got is the most divine little, look here Mark, little peri-peri, real peri-peri bird's eye chilies, which we grew in the garden and we dried. Mark actually made some salt with them, which could blow your head off. So we don't use that very often. A hot pan is pretty vital because it's sort of like short, sharp and furious. That's it. Right, sizzle, sizzle. You can cut them into smaller pieces if you like. Now, you don't need to do that whole sort of like flour and stuff. That is not what you're doing. This is kind of a sort of trad, cut, simple chicken liver moment. And also, don't overcrowd your pan. Step away from the spitting pan. Don't overcrowd the pan because otherwise it becomes sort of watery and then you're going to boil the livers and then you've defeated the entire situation. Put some pepper in here. Right. Some salt. Go. And then turn them over. So literally, they're going to cook again. Mark, come look in the pan here. So you see, just as they colour around the edges, you flip them. And then they're going to come out moments later, because they are actually going to cook again in the peri-peri sauce. So that's it. Sort of like frighten them into submission, and then just get rid of them. So it's just to sear them so you're not kind of like boiling them in the sauce, because I couldn't think of any worse. And then the next batch. Now, look, if you don't like chicken livers, it clearly isn't a recipe for you. But those of you who do like chicken livers, I promise you some crusty bread, and just the crusty bread really, and a good glass of wine. The life is made. Bit of pepper, bit of salt. I'm actually going to get some other salt because it seems like I'm running out. I fear that my husband might have stolen the salt and taken it down to the very famous chef. Okay, there we go, and turn them over. And then literally just sizzle them for a moment or two on the other side and be done with it. Okay, that's it. Remember, and this counts for pretty much anything, you can always put a piece of meat or chicken or whatever back in the oven if it's undercooked. You cannot do anything with it if it's overcooked. So now I'm going to put some more olive oil in. It's worth using, maybe not your best olive oil, but certainly not that sort of, not one of those blends or anything, because actually the oil is really part of the sauce. Butter. Butter is very important when you make a peri-peri sauce, and you want to be quite generous. Actually, let's be a little bit more generous. In for a penny, in for a pound. Look, I have to say that this is, it's not good for your heart anyway, so if you're going to do it right. I don't tend to add onion, but I have got some fresh oregano, got some fresh thyme. Don't use dried herbs, rather just skip that if you don't have any fresh herbs. Got some bay leaves. I'm just going to break these up. Alright. I've cut 2 fresh tomatoes. Going to go in there. Now, it depends how you can use like peri-peri powder, or you could just use these whole bird's eye chilies. They are clear, I tend not to chop them up. Get that going. Now, turn it down a little bit so that you can sort of start. We're going to like melt the tomatoes into the butter and oil. And don't skip the butter bit because that really is quite an important bit. Once it starts going, I've got a whole lot of garlic here. I'm going to chuck in. If you don't have bird's eye chilies, you can use any old chilies, and you really can just use peri-peri powder, I think they call it, or chili powder. That'll be fine. I kind of like the fresh bit though. And somehow I also find, it could just be me, but I find that like fresh chili is much easier to take in your mouth than dried chili, which seems to burn more instead of hang about a bit. I've got a beautiful little Cape lemon from I stole from the neighbour's tree. So I'm going to put that in. And then red wine vinegar, which is often used in Portuguese cooking, sort of for peri-peri and things like that. Not too much. Just gives you beautiful. Oh, I can smell it. Divine. Alright, and then just leave it there about sort of 6 or 7 minutes, just so the tomatoes can melt a bit. Alright, so you can see, Mark, come here, darling, that it's sort of like, there are still chunks of tomato, but it, you know, it hasn't like sort of gone mushy, but there is a certain amount of mush, which we find encouraging. And now in it goes, sorry about the blood, but it's really important and rather delicious. Sort of goes into the sauce. Don't think about it too hard, just celebrate the fact that it's there and it's going to make everything taste divine. I mean, we all have to admit eventually that meat does not come from a polystyrene packet, hard as that may be. Okay, here we go, some pepper. Mark's actually drooling behind the camera, which is good because I know he's happy. More salt, dreadful label, and so now what you don't want, admittedly, is like a raw chicken liver, because that would be deeply unfortunate. I think this is just about right. As I said, I should follow my own advice. If it's not quite ready, I can put it back in the pan, but I'd hate it to be the other way around. Sorry, Mark, hold on a moment. Thanks, my angel. How useful to have a man standing around to help me. But because I know that he really is drooling, I put some ciabatta, just heated it up slightly a moment ago, because he's going to eat this like in a second. And voila, let me just arrange that slightly better. Throw some parsley at the problem, and I tell you what, oh, it's kind of like got that acidity from the red wine vinegar, that beautiful bay flavor, a little bit of a kick, the creaminess of the livers. I am in heaven. Mark's about to be in heaven. Enjoy.